All right, we're up over 10 people hopping on. A few more, I'm sure, will be hopping on. So, friends, I've tried to rededicate myself here to the MLO Net Success Survivor Series in the Mortgage Loan Officer Network, bringing different guests, loan officers, industry supporters from all over to try to help you stay motivated, stay focused, remember what's working, go back to the plans that you have that you know work on a day-to-day basis. I had a great call in the veteran mortgage advisor community, folks that are in that program last week. And it was so cool. I wanted to share it just a little bit here in MLO Net as well, because I know not everybody's in that program. And I wanted to ask Khai some of the questions that we had asked him over there and just talk a little bit about what's different right now. I know the word Khai's been using is modern. What's different about this market? What do you have to do to be more modern? Some of the things that you might be doing are the same, but you might want to amplify them in a more modern way. So I know your Evolve or Die series, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more at the end, but that's been the sole focus, is diving deep into what's different right now. What do LOs have to do to get similar numbers of applications, more applications to grow? Certainly it's a challenge, but there's folks out there doing it. There's folks out there hitting big numbers still, and they have the same hours in the day. And a lot of times when you get down to meet them, you're like, oh, this person's smart and they work hard, but they're no smarter and they work no harder than me. They figured some things out, right? So
yeah. So there's a lot of things that has changed about the industry. And when I talk about the modernization of the loan officers, it's not just technology. I don't want everybody to think that like modernizing yourself is simply technology. But I am here to say something very candidly and blunt, that it does involve technology. And if you're resistant to technology, you won't transition into the modern era. So I will say that. But there are things about the world that we have today and the world that's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years that we have to adapt. Otherwise, the old techniques that we've been using, they still work. I'm never here to say that the old techniques don't work. They just become less and less and less and less effective. Okay. Like case in point right now, in the past, we could survive with 10 or 15 good realtor sources, and that could give you over 100 units a year. It's not the case anymore. It's because realtors themselves are down like 70, 80%, whatever it is. And so, conventional wisdom says, well, if realtors are down, let's just chase the good producing realtors. But that doesn't make any sense either, because that's very, very far and few. And so what's going to happen? The entire loan industry is just going to chase that 2%, that 1% of realtors, right? So you have to look at it, the fact that most realtors today are barely doing a couple transactions a year. And you want to be able to, you actually want their business. You want all the onesie, twosie realtors. But the problem is that if you apply old techniques to that, you're going to waste a lot of time, because conventional wisdom says break bread with them, invite them to coffee, have one-on-one meetings with them. That's great if you're dealing with the high producer. And I highly recommend you do that to top producing realtors. But you need to pick up onesie, twosie realtors too. Case in point, I had a client last year, actually one of my coaches. At one point of the year, he'd already funded about 178 units. Well, he funded exactly 178 units because I like exact numbers. And we did an MMI on him, and to fund exactly 178 units, it took 106 realtors to give him 178 units. Over 70 of them only gave him one transaction for the entire year. So think about that. If he only went after top producing realtors, he never would have gotten those realtors, right? The onesie twosie realtors. So he would have done 70 less transactions. He would have done closer to 100 transactions, not 178 transactions. So we need the onesie twosie realtors. But how do we go after onesie twosie realtors and not waste a lot of time? I mean, it took him 106 realtors. Can you imagine 106 coffee meetings? Can you imagine having 2 or 3 coffee meetings? You're going to have 300 coffee meetings. And so it doesn't scale. It doesn't scale. And so we talk a lot about the modernization is really doing less direct sales and doing more marketing group-driven activities. And today we have the modern tools to do that. We have everything from social media. We have Facebook groups. We have Zoom meetings. And so the more you can put yourself out to scale, the more you can reach out to people. So like you can put together an educational webinar series, which is promoted a lot in VMA, right? You guys do a lot of educational series teaching people about VA, whether you get 30 people in a room that are home buyers or 30 realtors in a room. And so I highly recommend you do that on a regular basis, because if you can put anywhere between 10 and 30 realtors in a room on a regular basis, it's so much more efficient than having one-on-one coffees with them. Because what you're really trying to do is you're really just trying to engage and educate realtors. We're not going for the kill right away. We're not sitting down with the realtor and saying, hey, let's do business together. We just want realtors to think that we're smart. We want them to understand that we know what we're talking about. And we want to be leaders in the field, because those onesie twosie realtors, if we have an influence on them, they're going to give you the business. And
It's
and
kind of how you started the call. You said,
Yeah.
like, that you agree with a lot of what the other coaches say, and
Yeah.
a lot of the folks out there are saying, like, yes, you should go teach, but they're not necessarily saying, do it in this modern method that takes a little bit less time, allows you to get in front of more people. And I know when you're talking about teaching too, one of the big things you keep telling people is like, hey, this is your long-term marketing content. Like, you need to be
Yeah.
recording some of these classes so that you can build them into your CRM and put them out there on TikTok and YouTube, and take the right clips. And so instead of having to duplicate your efforts and, I got to do class, now I got to go do my TikTok marketing, now I got to go meet with this guy about YouTube, now I
It's
spend
all in
all this
one.
money. It's all in one. Right.
So the modernization of that is the old method is that we would actually have live classes. But that's a huge strain, is getting a room, filling the room, making sure you have your donuts and refreshments or whatever it is. We say donuts jokingly, right? But now we can put together events on Zoom really, really quickly. And I mean, I can put together an event on Zoom in as little as 3 days. It's funny because if we put Zoom events together, you'll see that most of your registrations are going to be the day before. I mean, we already have a full group here, and I mean, they just kind of expect it. Everybody just jumps on, right? And so that's what happens when you use Zoom technology. And the thing about Zoom technology that I think that people have to understand too is that there's no limits in terms of geographical limits. So I can hold webinars and Zoom presentations across the country. And so one of the issues that we have in terms of current markets right now is that your local market could be completely depressed when it comes to inventory. Okay. And so whether you're in a big city that has too much competition or you're in a small city that doesn't have enough inventory, there's just not going to be enough transactions for people to go around. And so, the modern loan officer is licensed in multiple states. Instead of being hyper focused on I'm your local loan officer, I'm your West Coast loan officer. I'm a nationwide lender. I'm a national leader in lending. And so your branding is going to be a little bit different, but a loan officer in Texas would also be licensed in Georgia, in Florida, in Tennessee, in different states like that. And in the past, it's like, well, how do I create relationships with realtors in multiple states when I have to go to coffee with them? But now we don't have that boundary anymore, because that limitation, because we can have Zoom meetings, which actually thankfully pandemic actually changed that, right? So pandemic actually created Zoom meetings to be like a norm. If I look at somebody and say, let's do a Zoom meeting, it's like no big deal. That you're like your average consumer is going to jump on a Zoom meeting. And so now you can create these webinars, these classes across state lines. Nothing is stopping you in Michigan to hold a class on Zoom in Tennessee or in Florida, and to attract and work with realtors in those areas and to create homebuyer seminars. And that's definitely one of the characteristics of the modernization of understanding just today's market in terms of having to leverage for the small fishes, which is what you really want. But also not having any boundaries. And what you alluded to, because for people that haven't heard me, is that you want to record everything that you do, because by recording the things that you do, you create content. We're always looking for marketing content. We're always looking for social media content. So you want to record what you do. Now, if you have a live event, then you basically have to have a camera person. But it is a lot easier to have a Zoom meeting and just record that event. And now you have recording. What a lot of people are doing right now, actually, one of my colleagues and friends, and the two of us share all of our strategies, and we see the eye. Denise Donahue, the mortgage nurse, she's actually holding an event right now for about over 250 realtors, where she has about 50 of her realtors live and then 200 live streaming. So what you do is you just have a live event and then you just set up a camera and a laptop in the back so you can double stream it on Zoom. So for the people that do like to have live events, you can still use technology. You can still use technology to do that. But again, having it recorded, you've got so much content that you can use, because the thing about recorded content is that when you normally have an event, the people that don't show up, you see that as a loss, right? Like let's say, Mike, you're doing like a VA event, right? And so you're going to invite 200 realtors, and let's say 30 realtors show up. So what's successful is that 30 realtors show up. But in your mind, what's not successful is the 170 realtors that didn't show up, right? That's because it's a live event. But if it's a recorded event, it's still successful, because you can still distribute the recorded content to the 170 realtors that didn't show up. So you can still follow up with them and say, hey, I know you missed the event, but I'm sorry you missed the event, but I have the recorded content that I would still like to deliver to you and provide value to you. And so you can still build relationships there. And so you're using modern tools to really kind of break the limitations that we've had before, and to break what we considered failures, right?
And even this is the part that people, I think, don't understand. Even if they don't watch the recorded content, they see that you're the person out there putting it on, putting these events on. They go, oh yeah, I need to catch that. I need to catch that. But you're still able to call on them, and you're still able to market yourself, for whatever you taught the class for. Even if they didn't show up or listen, they know that you're that person. So next time you have an offer going in, you say like, oh, hey, listing agent, I think you're going to come to that class that I taught at the, Ann Arbor Board of Realtors. But anyways, I got an offer going in right now. Oh yeah, you didn't make the call. That's right. But I think I sent you a follow-up. Either way, maybe I see you to class, but let's talk about this offer. It builds the familiarity that you need to get branded, and to have a chance to call on them, and of course to get your offers accepted. Let's flip over that a little bit. I mean, that's such a big topic right now. There's so many offers coming in, people paying cash. I mean, how do you stand out? What do you do to get your offers accepted in today's market? I mean, it's tough, right?
Yeah, there's three components to getting an offer accepted. There's price, there's terms, and then there's there's four things. There's price, there's terms, there's your marketing and sales effort, and then there's familiarity, right? And I actually want to start on the back end with familiarity. One of the things about our industry that is very traditional is that we market ourselves to buyer's agents, because we want them to give us referrals. But we don't really traditionally market ourselves to either the masses or to even listing agents. But it's to our advantage to really market ourselves to every realtor in our market, because at some point in time, you're going to put in an offer and your name is going to be on that offer. And is the realtor going to know you? And if the realtor knows you, and I want to say it might've been you, that somebody posted in MLO note that they got their offer accepted just because they recognized their name. Oh, actually, I know who it was. It was Chad Gattani. He's in MLO net. And so sometimes just the familiarity of name.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the reasons why we have to modernize our approach and not just do one-on-one direct sales and go big with marketing is that we have to create familiarity with our name and our brand across all the realtors in the industry, because that already gives you like a 50% leg up. Okay. And so you want to have a social media presence. You want to friend and follow every realtor in your community. Just know that there's a high chance that they're going to get your offer. And that's huge. And historically we don't think that way, but we have to now. Okay. The next thing is terms and price. Those are things that we don't really control. Let's just say that's going to be in the realtors, right? I mean, let's face it, the price has to be within, 10,000 or so. Don't expect to do all the great things and win a property because you lowballed. So we won't talk about that. And of course, terms. I think it's really important, terms, even though that's not necessarily us. I mean, it is kind of us. We have to make a concerted effort to sit down with the real estate agent and to sit down with the buyer and say, hey, what terms can we make this offer more more pleasing to the seller? Can I do pre-underwrites? Can I remove contingencies? Can I have waived inspections, things like that, right? And that definitely is a real estate thing. But the third thing, what we can do is modern presentations. And typically, and I have some samples here, typically when we're doing presentations, we're submitting a pre-approval letter and we're giving it to the real estate agent and we're saying, hey, good luck. But with modern tools today, like here's a great modern tool. And for those of you, I'm sure you guys seen it before, like a lender launchpad, is that you can create a pre-approval presentation where you have a video, and then you have a video, and then you have details of the offer, and then you have the pre-approval letter, and it's really outlining the offer. And you can use this modern technique to basically sell and market yourself to the listing agent and say, hey, this is why my bar is the best, and this is why my offer is the best. And I have a couple samples. Scott Nicholson did this one. This is the video version. Here's a version where he has the video over here on the side. And the videos, you can have everything from, you can have different types of videos, like you can have appraisal gap strategies. Let's say it's a VA, you can have a VA offer. You can have videos on why VA offers are the best, and breaking the myths of VA. And so you can use these modern tools to basically present yourself in different ways. Okay. And what's really great about that is that you give yourself a platform, a combination of video, visuals, PDFs, words to really present yourself better. But it's also advantageous because in the past, we've never had a chance to actually sell ourselves to the seller, just the listing agent. I know a lot of people say, well, I called the listing agent. I called the listing agent. I always ask them, I said, well, did you call the seller though? Because you don't have access to the seller. Mm-hmm. And so, you can call a listing agent, but you can't call the seller. But if I provide them a presentation, which is that's just basically a link, and the link, gives it to my multimedia presentation, that listing agent can show it to the seller. So now you're really selling to both.
You have a chance to make a video that the seller's going to see.
Right. And not just a video, but Lender Launchpad gives you a multimedia platform. Video, because people say, well, I send them a video too, but it's not just video, it's video, it's text, it's PDF. You can have multiple.
It's a whole presentation.
It's a whole presentation.
In a link, whole presentation in one little link.
Presentation. Yeah. But I also want to make this point too, is that I do something called 6 degrees of separation, getting more business from what you have. And I show people that with one lead, there's generally 20 to 25 new lead opportunities. Okay. And so, for example, if you're a buyer out there, Patrick Cooley, he's a VMA guy, and he always complains about being in Boston because it takes like 25 offers for him to get something accepted because it's highly competitive. And there's a phrase that I learned, and I learned it from the movie World War Z with Brad Pitt, the zombie movie. Mm-hmm. And it says, oftentimes the solution isn't the problem. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for example, not to cause controversy, but vaccines, for example, are created by the virus themselves. Like the solution isn't the problem. That's actually what the quote was, because they created a zombie vaccine from one of the zombies. But here's what I told Patrick. I said, Patrick, so I know you're complaining that it takes 25 offers to get something accepted. And usually it's 25 offers, not because you have the highest price. Let's face it. If you had the highest price and you had the right presentation, the other all 4 components, it should only take about 3 offers, correct? If it's taking 25 offers, it's probably because you're one of the lower prices. I said, but that's really an opportunity. And he said, why? I said, because if you're doing what I'm telling you to do, and you're sending a full-blown presentation to all 25 agents, and you're also calling the agent and you're presenting the offer, okay? Mm-hmm. You've also presented and you've introduced yourself to 25 agents. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I've said this like a million, with 25 agents, right? And so Patrick's like, you're right. And so now you have these opportunities where it's like, okay, well, you can call these agents and you can say, hey, I just wanted to follow up, and I realized we didn't get the offer. I was just curious why we didn't get the offer. And if the agent's nice, they're going to say, you know what, we really liked you. As a matter of fact, we were really blown away by your presentation. We just didn't accept the offer because we got another offer that was $40,000 higher. But it's still an opportunity, because you can say, oh, well, that's good to know because it wasn't me. Would you have accepted me if our offer was higher? They probably say, yeah, the presentation was great. And I would say, well, even though we don't have a chance to work together on this offer, this under contract, could we talk about how I can help your buyers win offers by using the techniques that I have? And so I told Patrick, I said, you have 25 introductions right there. Yep. So if you have 5 clients,
and they'll actually take your call. They're going to take your call.
They're going to take your call. If you have 5 clients,
you have to fight through the Monday crazy.
And there's 25 offers each, you're putting yourself in front of 125 agents just going through the process of trying to win that offer. And so you've put yourself in front of 100 plus more agents that you normally wouldn't have. by giving a great presentation. If you give a mediocre presentation, you just did like a PDF presentation and you didn't win the offer, it's like, oh, so what? You didn't win the offer. You just gave me some PDF with like a pre-approval letter. Okay. But if you went through the process of doing a multimedia presentation in a modern way, in a very spectacular way, you have an in with them to become an agent, and you become their preferred lender. And so you have to look at all these opportunities that you're facing by what you're doing. And let me back up a little bit too. One of the things about this modern generation, okay, the modern generation of millennials and Gen Z. Now, when we think about millennials, we usually think about like a younger generation, but millennials are 40 years old right now. I mean, it's crazy. Millennials are already 40. They're all grown up. Okay. So now when we talk about like our generation, Gen X, like we're the old guys. Okay. But the thing about this newer generation, which is also filtered into our generation, is that this generation is highly, highly influenced by social media marketing and influencers more than anything before. Okay. So that means that they're highly influenced by social media marketing and influence, which supports what I've been saying about you have to create a presence out there. You have to create a marketing presence, and especially influencer presence. So what is an influencer? An influencer is somebody that goes up there and they either educate or they state opinion and they put themselves in the public eye. Okay. So why is that so different? Well, when I really look at a modern loan officer, what I see is a shift from what we've been in the past 20 years. We've been sales-driven servants. Okay, a sales-driven servant, because let's face it, by nature, sales is begging and asking for business by nature. I mean, you can be really good at it, but you're still begging and asking for business by nature. Okay. And everything that we do, it's always like, well, we can do this for you. We can do this for you. We can do this for you. It's of servient nature. It's all of beta servient nature. Okay. The modern loan officer is more of a leader, more of an influencer, more of a public figure who is more alpha in nature. Okay. By educating and leading and giving people direction. And when you position yourself that way, you're going to attract more business, because if you look at the way businesses today are less about sales and serving and begging as much as it is about attracting. And that's the position that we want. We want to flip the tables, and we want realtors to come up to us and say, I want to do business with you, not the other way around. Like, please give me business. And that's actually a very modern behavioral change that you have to.
I used to say in VMA, because a lot of folks would say like, oh, I want to target all these veterans. I want to go after them and I want to target them. And I'd be like, dude, you don't want to target veterans. They're going to shoot back at you. That is not a good thing to do.
That's not a good thing to say.
So I would say like exactly that. Like you want to attract them by putting your content out there and showing that you care and showing that you're the educator and that, you understand the VA benefit, you're able to explain it. And you're not just sitting there talking about rates and fees and discounts. I mean, you're literally talking about helping them getting offers accepted and, them understanding the process and all this kind of stuff that we've been talking about. I love it, man.
Yeah. I mean, even value propositions, your typical value proposition in the past was of servant nature. It was, I can get your loan closed on time. I can give you the best rate. I can package your loans correctly, give you the best loan. Today, the value propositions are a lot different. They're more based around leadership. Okay. Because if you look at what a borrower today faces in buying a house, what a home buyer today faces, number one, there's an affordability crisis because the combination of the recession of jobs, but also just cost of living. And so home prices have, compared to when we were buying homes 10 years ago, I mean, they've skyrocketed. And so now it requires dual income, high amounts of income to afford a house. And so we have an affordability issue. We have a qualification issue. We have an inventory issue, and we have a competition issue when it comes to winning offers. And so as a loan officer, instead of creating a value proposition of, I can do this for you and I can do this for you, and then you're going to get shopped, is you can be a leader of education and offer value. I will show you how to afford your home. I will show you financially how to afford your home. I will show you financially how to put your books in order, especially if you're a self-employed employee or if you're a veteran, so that we can qualify correctly. I will show you how to beat out other competition because of low inventory. Follow me, listen to my tips, and I will show you and I will lead the way. This is not what Rocket Mortgage is doing. This is not what the credit unions are doing, because they're still staying in servant form. Okay. And so now we have a chance to be leaders. In terms of closing on time and things like that, that's what the agents want to hear. But in terms of the bars, that's what they want to hear, the affordability issues. Now your buyer's agent, they're kind of hybrid. They want to hear that too, because they want to know that you can actually help them qualify their buyers and bring them qualified buyers. Okay. And then by the time you get to the agents, you're going to talk about closing on time and everything else.
Now you just kind of spun it into a good topic to kind of wrap us up here. And it's, the buyer's agents certainly want you to qualify, and, occasionally they want you to refer somebody. And it's this concept of having more consumers without the realtor being involved, being a little bit more consumer direct, working your database more. And people always call me and say like, oh, I don't even want to work the realtors. I want to go teach on base and I want to find all the vets. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's back up just a little bit. We already know some vets. Let's get involved there and let's get more out of what we already have. What is a little bit different or more modern about finding more consumers without the realtor involved, or helping the realtor, cultivate the past clients into more opportunities? Just kind of working those connections. What's different about that today?
Well, I see sort of a hybrid approach, because it's difficult to simply go after consumers and ignore the realtors, because at some point you're going to be working with the realtors. It's like you can't ignore marketing to realtors, because again, it can be the listing agent that you have to convince to accept your offer. You have to play nice with the buyer's agent. And let's face it, even if I wanted to create my own lead so that I'm not quote unquote depending on asking a realtor for business, if I position myself correctly and I do a really great job and I do bring that to the table, I still want to work with that buyer's agent for them to continue to work with me. And so one of the things that I recommend in terms of positioning is doing consumer-faced marketing, helping borrowers in these times buy a home, but directing that information to realtors so that realtors share that information with their databases, if that makes sense. And so you may have a reach with your consumers, however big followers you have. And so let's just say you even have 5,000 followers like on social in your database, right? That's your consumers. But if you can also disseminate that information to all your realtors, and so let's say you have 200 realtors, 500 realtors that you can get that information to, and then they share it right to their database. Now you're leveraging, you're expanding your reach. And so that's like the hybrid approach of doing consumer voice, consumer facing marketing, but directed at your real estate partners for them to share to their consumers. And so you're still helping them, and you're still not begging them for business, because you're providing them content that they need in order for them to attract business, in order for them to close business.
I love how you answered that, man. I remember 7-8 years ago, first starting all the Facebook masterminds and diving into the algorithms and, hey, I got a like, and you should comment below and all these little things. And I remember at one point we all kind of sat around and said, you know what? I don't care so much about the likes. All I care about is the shares. Like, somebody cared enough about my content to show it to their audience, to put me in front of more people that I didn't know already. Somebody's taking what I do and putting it in front of other people. Even if nobody watches it, that means that person really thought a lot about me. And eventually a lot of the social media algorithms started weighing that really heavily. The shares really, really amplify all the things that you do. So if you're making content that can be shared, and you can ask the realtors to share, like, hey, like you said, Khai, I made this video to help veterans learn how to get their certificate of eligibility themselves. Feel free to share it with anybody that that needs some help tracking this down.
We're in a sharing culture. And so it makes perfect sense that you're going to create content that is extremely viral for other people to share. And so it's a combination of your realtor sharing, but also consumers that are out there consuming your content they're sharing. I mean, you want to create shareable content. And good so stuff. Is this a 30-minute thing?
Yeah, we try to keep, because we try not to go too long. People get distracted because this is like, this pops up and it's
I think the point that we're trying to make here is that when we talk about the modernization of the industry and the modernization of the loan officer, we're not talking about like this radical change into this like technology, and we're not talking about dropping everything that we know. What it is it's just the modernization. It's just the modernization of things. It's taking things that we already do, but understanding how to leverage it better, understanding how to shift, understanding how to address new behaviors, understanding how to be better, understanding how to set yourself apart. and a lot of the old things, a lot of the old sales techniques, a lot of the old relationship techniques, building rapport, those things still matter. I mean, I can do a whole presentation on what I call the 6 degrees of separation, creating 25 leads from one lead. And it's very, very, very old school. When it comes to sales can be very old school. I think marketing is not new school per se, but it's new school in the sense that marketing is no longer expensive. We can do these really cool things for really, really cheap.
It's awesome, man. So let's just kind of bring this home with tomorrow. You got Evolver 2. You're going to talk more specifically about the presentation piece of getting offers accepted. That's one of the
So here's the thing.
topics.
Okay, so I have a webinar called Evolver, and I'm actually going to put it. I'm going to put it in the chat, and then you copy it. It's actually next Wednesday, June 21st, 11 a.m. Pacific, and that's the link for people to sign up. Now, tomorrow is Evolver 2, which is sort of like the continuation. And so it's June 14th, and the link's a little bit different. So here's the thing about Evolver 2. I mean, technically, you should attend 1 before 2, and you should attend both. But you could easily attend 2 because it's just different topics. Where Evolver 1, I talk about when I talk about going beyond sales and going into marketing and how to leverage and attract realtors with webinars and things like that. That's Evolver 1. That's next week. But Evolver 2, I go specifically into winning offers. I talk about using AI, and I also talk about the case for working with financial professionals, not just real estate agents. And so there's not really a prerequisite for having to go to 1 before you go to 2. You all can easily attend tomorrow. I'm going to put the link. You can easily attend tomorrow, and then just go backwards. Attend 2 first, and then 1. And if you use the code MLO net, it is and I'll be really candid. It is a paid webinar, but we're not talking about anything really expensive. We're talking about like $80. Okay. And if you use the code MLO net, I think I gave you like I think it's like a $30 discount. I have to remember. So we're talking about like a $50. We're talking about like a $50 a webinar. Guys, you guys like buy 3 drinks on the weekend, and that's it, right? It's like a tea time.
Yeah, and then you get them all the recordings.
And this is not like something that I'm pitch you coaching. I'm literally in 90 minutes. I'm going to give you tried and true methods in Evolver 2 about winning offers, picking up financial professionals, picking up attorneys to work with. And there's a reason why. The reason why you want to work with financial professionals and attorneys is because people that can afford financial professionals and attorneys, they have money, which means they have down payment, which means they have more affordable terms that are more attractive. Because right now, the generation that's winning the most offers is actually boomers right now, because they're a higher net worth. And so you want to work with the financial professionals and attorneys that have those clients that can refer you business. So I talk a lot about that in Evolver 2. I talk about that. And I go into a rabbit hole of using AI to make your life a lot easier. So if you guys can join that tomorrow, and the next week, if you didn't pick up Evolver 1, that's next Wednesday. And we talk about all these concepts in depth, and we will give you actual tactics and strategies. And again, just being really candid here with the MLO net community, because you guys have been really good for me. I understand that everybody out here is looking for advice, they're looking for tips, and let's face it, I'm a coach, and I would love everybody to work with me as a coach. But I understand too that during tough times, coaching can be expensive. You know what I mean? It can be expensive. It could be $1,000 or more a month. And so that's why I'm trying to really provide these very affordable $50, $75 webinars that you can absorb one time and give you enough strategies to really change your next 6 months and put you in the right trajectory for business. Okay. And so that's me adopting to modern times.